Air Day. But we've got the Chipmunk in something of a last-minute substitute, and there it is on the roll, because the French Navy Atlantique, unfortunately, is unable to be with us today. Suffered a technical problem after its base at Lorient yesterday and was, despite very strenuous efforts, unable to come and join us. Gives this aircraft a top speed just under 140 miles an hour. The Chipmunk was originally conceived as a successor to that most famous of all biplanes, the de Havilland Tiger Moth, for both the Royal Air Force and Royal Canadian Air Force. The RAF ended up taking 735 of these aeroplanes. Early orders for the Chipmunk were rather slow. It made its first flight from the de Havilland factory airfield at Downsview in Toronto on the 22nd of May 1946. And came into service with the Royal Canadian Air Force a couple of years later. But at that time, of course, there were still large numbers of surplus wartime training aircraft, Tiger Moths, Harvards and the like, that were perfectly serviceable, perfectly usable for continued post-war use. And of course, an awful lot of governments, including Britain's, were virtually broke at the end of World War II and didn't have huge funds with which to buy new aeroplanes. The Chipmunk also gained an undeserved negative reputation for certain tricky handling characteristics, but things soon picked up from there, not least after the first RAF Chipmunks came into service with the Oxford University Air Squadron at Kidlington. That was in February 1950, and the great de Havilland test pilot Pat Fillingham, who went out to Canada in 1946 to make the type's maiden flight, led the first batch of chippies into Kidlington from the factory airfield at Hatfield. Quite a long evaluation took place prior to Royal Air Force service of the Chipmunk. They came into use with University Air Squadrons, the reserve flying squadrons of the RAF Volunteer Reserve, and latterly the Air Experience flights, giving flying experience to members of the Air Cadets. So there may well be quite a few of you of new Soviet military equipment that had been deployed to the area. The Royal Navy took its first Chipmunks into service in 1966 when it got 12 examples, ex-RAF ones, for the Britannia Royal Naval College Air Experience flight at Roborough Airport in Plymouth. 771 and 781 Naval Air Squadrons at Culdrose and Leon Solent flew them for communications work and as glider tugs, as did the station flight here, and those at Culdrose and Lossiemouth, the last to be retired, those of Britannia flight at Roborough in 1993. The Army Air Corps Chipmunks soldiered on until 1997, the year after the Army Air Corps examples had been retired. It's always been a super display aeroplane, as we saw demonstrated there in the very capable hands of the commanding officer of the Royal Navy Historic Flight, Lieutenant Commander Chris Gotke, AFC.